I've come to grief in an affair of honor. In other words, I got wounded playing Truth or Dare. But first, I need to wrap up some loose ends, for the sake of continuity or something like that. That carrot cake that I made in my last video, the one that looked delicious and wonderful, no! Nope. I thought the icing recipe was asking for sour cream, which I admit sounded a little strange, but some recipes are eclectic and I did get it from Miss Lind, but it was supposed to be cream cheese. Obviously, it was not a very good cake. But on the subject of other messy, unfortunate happenings, of which I seem to have a lot of, I made another slightly painful mistake recently. The cake was something easily fixable. Our minister, Mr. Allen, and his wife were so forgiving, and Marilla had some store-bought cookies on hand to replace the dessert. My ankle, not so fixable. I, for one, used to think fainting was romantic. I mean, that's not an unreasonable thing to think, is it? All of the gorgeous ladies in old books swooning over handsome men, or fainting away in the heat, giving the aforementioned handsome men a reason to carry them back to the manor or something. Maybe fainting would have been less anticlimactic if there had been a dashing young man to carry me back home, but instead I got carried back home by Diana's father, which isn't all that thrilling. I don't even remember actually fainting. The story leading up to the fainting event, however, is dramatic, or at least as dramatic as life outside of my stories can be. I held a little picnic for Diana in Avonlea so she can meet Jane and Ruby, since we've all been working on the story club together and they all seem to really like each other in the Facebook group chat we've been using. Her parents drove her up so we could all have a picnic in the park and hang out and talk about what we've been writing. Ruby was hanging out with Josie Pye before she came to the park, so she brought Josie with her, which was perfectly fine. We started talking about our stories. Everyone here loves Diana, by the way, and Josie wants to be part of the story club too. So now we have a new member, and she wants to write, One Direction fan fiction, which is unique, and, yeah. Anyways, Ruby decided to invite half of the school's population, including all of Ruby's boy toys and googly-eyed Charlie Sloane and Lord Voldemort himself, who thankfully did not show up. After we finished eating, I wanted everyone to read from their stories out loud, but I only got about a page into mine when Josie started complaining about being bored, and Ruby agreed that it was a lot easier to read the stories online. So that didn't last long, and none of the other people from school were interested, and then Josie suggested Truth or Dare. It started out like a fairly typical game of Truth or Dare. How far have you gone with a boy or girl? I dare you to lick someone's foot. You. I dare you. Which boy in Avonlea is the hottest? Guess who everyone, including Diana, picked? But then our dares started to escalate. Diana was dared to text a random boy Ruby picked out in her contacts because she said that he had dreamy eyes. And then Nate dared Will to hold a handstand on a picnic table for 30 seconds. And Josie dared Jane to hop over to a tree which was several yards away on one leg, which doesn't sound very hard, but Jane wasn't even able to make it halfway there. She was wearing a dress, so I'll give her that. Josie was being so smug about her dare was so hard that Jane couldn't complete it. So I dared Josie to walk across the fence that separated the park from the library. I didn't think she'd be able to do it, but she made it all the way across without losing her balance or even faltering. Everyone was cheering for her, and she gave me a look. So I told her that it only would have been an impressive display of balance if she climbed to the top of the monkey bars and rocked across them without falling off. Obviously, she dared me to do that if I thought it was so easy. If my ankle wasn't broken, I'd have my foot in my mouth. I told her I'd do it. I was a little worried, but there was no way I was going to let anyone defeat me. I climbed to the top of the monkey bars and started to walk across. I almost tripped and fell once. Diana yelled at me to come down and stop being so reckless, to just try and prove something to everyone. I jokingly told her that if I died, she could have my video camera and take over my vlog. I kept going. It was a matter of honor. And then I fell and broke my ankle. All I remember was hitting the ground, feeling sort of stunned, and then my ankle hurting worse than I can ever remember anything hurting in my entire life. Everyone ran over and Diana was yelling something about me being dead. I tried to laugh and tell her that I wasn't dead, but I might have been unconscious. It probably came out a little incoherent. And then I guess I passed out from the pain, because the next thing I remember was Mr. Barry carrying me home and Marilla rushing out looking extremely worried. Now I'm sitting in my bedroom, in my bed, making this video blog. Marilla and I had a huge talk about pride and doing reckless things for attention. She's right, as I'm starting to realize is usually the case with Marilla. My ankle is broken and I have no one to blame but myself. Josie was just trying to have fun like the rest of us and I took things too far and got carried away. Overall, Marilla was pretty chill about being reckless and me, breaking a bone. But she was also scared out of her mind in the emergency room. I don't think she's mad at me, really. I think she just wants me to have more responsibility. So no more time wasting on the internet, sadly. I'm supposed to have the space boot on for a month, and then I suppose I'll get really skilled at walking around with crutches. But for now, I'm going to continue sitting here and trying very hard not to feel sorry for myself. I don't think I'm going to allow myself to play Truth or Dare for a while. Or at least until the next sleepover I get invited to.